models, but these 3 models were the ones that were running around, that were being used around. We made about 4,000 face shields, and we gave out 3,000 were free, and around 1,000 of them were sold. We also made something called as an intubation box. This is an intubation box. When a doctor is putting a pipe into the person's throat, that pipe, the process is called intubation. And when he does the process, the patient tends to cough and leaves out a lot of spit and blood into the air. Now, to avoid the blood and spit falling onto the patient's face, they wanted a covering. A face mask does not really help. So we made this kind of a box wherein the doctor stands behind, puts her hands in the gloves, and does the process of intubation. Similarly, the Navy asked us, to create something called as a transport pod. In case there is a patient that needs to be taken from one place to the other, and they do not want the risk of someone else getting infected, or the driver, or maybe the pilot getting infected. And so they asked us to develop this pod. Now, this the shell has been done by the Navy themselves, and where we did the concept, but where they were stuck on was this. Now, it looks like a simple plastic thing, but it required a lot of thinking on how to sort this out. And why the solution that we finally gave them was so airtight that smoke did not come out of it. This was the smoke test that is going on. And then finally, we came out with Lobo as a product. The Lobo is a sensor-based sanitizer dispenser, and this has been doing very well in the market in the last 2 months since we launched it, and we are having good fun marketing it and learning new things in this entire process. Coming back to 3D printing, what is 3D printing and how can it help you? All these products that were developed, somewhere or the other, we use printing to come up with these products. Somewhere or another, this 3D printing helped us build this product range for us. And not just us. This is a product we ourselves, but during this 6 months, there were a number of people who came to us saying that we want to develop new products. We want to develop new items, and we were helping them with it. Let me take you through a small journey of what 3D printing is. If you see if you look at the gallery view, one of the videos is also showing one of my printers printing a pot. It's a self-watering pot, and you can see it live. That is being printed on an Ender 3 using PLA material, that is polylactic acid. Yes. So let me just show you a small video that will explain to you the 3D printing process for those who do not know. Now, the Eiffel Tower over here has been printed on this machine. The machine starts basically nothing. And that is why it is called an additive manufacturing process. There are 2 ways that you manufacture. One is you add, one is you remove. In a normally carving process, you take a block of wood and then start chipping off. But in additive manufacturing, you start with 0. And here the plastic goes right on top and then comes down, melts through the nozzle, and is poured out in a very precise form to create any product that you want. And that is the beauty of 3D printing. Because it is additive, it can make complex structures. It does not care how complex your part is. It can just print. Of course, there are certain rules that you have to follow for 3D printing. If you follow those rules, you are able to do some amazing stuff using 3D printing. So let me go very quickly with this because we have very less time. So what it does is basically prints layer, and then it created this. Now it is printing the 3rd layer. And progressively, layer upon layer, it keeps printing till you get something like this. As you can see, it has started lifting up and creating an object. What it is creating here is a bird inside a cage. And this is possible only in a technology like this, only an additive manufacturing technology like this. And it is creating a bird inside a cage in a single piece. Any other technology, you will probably have to do it in 2 different pieces and then join them together. And that is where 3D printing has an edge over all other technologies. So how does the 3D printing process work? It starts with an idea. you take an idea, and a lot of us keep getting ideas, but we don't do anything with it. And these ideas come in the strangest of moments. When we are walking on the beach, we are sitting in the washroom, we are having bath, when you're cooking, and then when you get an idea, and you never know, that idea could be one of the best. However, because of the constraint of how we're going to manufacture, where are we going to manufacture, we forget to make use of this idea. I would strongly recommend that if you have an idea, start either jotting it down, or if you know designing, then go to the next stage and start designing and making your idea real. Because a lot of good ideas die in our brains itself. I would love if a lot more people started paying more attention to their ideas. So you start with an idea, you then create a design of it. Then there is a small process of analysis to check whether the design is good, whether it is printable, whether it is workable. You might want to do your design tests. Okay, and then you go through a slicing software. 3D printer does not understand what you design. All it understands is a series of codes which says go here, pour this much plastic, go there, pour that much plastic. To translate your design into something, we use a software called as a slicer, which understands your design and then converts it into codes. Okay, and then then you go to 3D printing. 3D printing basically reduces the gap between an idea and reality. Many times we have that idea, but we don't see it, we don't know how to make it. So through 3D printing, you can actually reduce that gap. In a very short while, you can make a prototype, and test whether your idea is good or not. And that really is a surreal feeling. During this COVID period, now these are all taken, the pictures taken on the net from different websites, and these are things that 3D printing has done during the COVID. And during the COVID, the lockdown, 3D printing the world over became a hero. They made face shields, they made face masks, they made these clips so that you could put your mask comfortably. This is a different mask. Most of these items we already tried ourselves, and we were working on this, but they were not. So for various reasons, we did not work deep on it. But we did try all this stuff. 3D printing also has made things like this. So this is the COVID key. Basically, you use the COVID key to not open anything. You can carry your bags in it. You can open doors with it. You can touch your buttons, the ATM buttons or the lift buttons using the COVID key. This is so that you don't touch your hand to the lock or to the latch. This is to remove gloves. Recently, I read an article that said that a lot of people, nurses and doctors, were infected not during during the process of treating the patients, but when they were actually removing the gloves, because they did not know how to remove the gloves properly. And then when there was virus on the gloves, it would touch them. And that was very sad, because after they finish an entire day, when they are verily pulling off the gloves, that is where they get infected. So 3D printing tools like this help them remove gloves. And then doors, to open and close doors, you have now a foot puller. This is called a foot puller, that has been 3D printed and then fixed to the edge of your door. So you don't use your hand, but actually use your shoes or your legs to open and close a door. And now this is just a few examples that I was able to pull out and to show you, because then I would have a few slides only on this. But this is basically telling you what 3D printing can do. Open your mind towards what you can do using the same technology to make things and life easier for you. Any technology that makes life easy is what makes it valuable. And 3D printing can do it. However, a lot of us are not able to connect how this can actually happen for us. Here are some of the stuff that we did in our office. This is a very old project, almost about 5 years back, wherein a company wanted to create a modular bracket system to hold pipes, and they did not want, and this thing had to be taken to US. They created a modular system like this. What you see are small keyholes, wherein the other parts slide into this. This has been 3D printed, which supports the sliding in this happens, and it creates an entire round bracket. This is just one part of it. This entire set was then taken to US and they tested it over there. I'm not sure whether it was successful or unsuccessful, but yes, we delivered it successfully. Over here, we have a bottle. A bottling company came to us. It seems that a year back, when they ordered for a new mold for a bottle, they when the mold came and they actually started production, they realized that they had ordered for 250 ml water liquid container, and the bottle itself was 250 ml, whereas government stipulation says that it has to be 25% more than the actual quantity that it is supposed to hold. And so they were forced to rework on that mold, and that cost them quite a bit. So the next time that they were ordering the mold, they came to us and they said, Ryan, can you create a 3D print so that we can test the design? And they sent us a design. We created a 3D print, tested it, they put liquid in it and tried it out. When everything was okay, then they gave him the order for the mold. Now they spent about 1,600 to make this bottle, but they saved over 20,000 in case that thing had gone wrong. Similarly, we made a lot of enclosures. This is one of my first projects that I got. This was huge learning experience because there was no one to teach us at that time. But this is a device which has got a biometric scanner, basically to put at all the entrances. Now the client would, before we did this, they would do this in aluminium. This prototype will be done in aluminium, and they would spend about 30,000 for one set of aluminium. What we did was we made 3 of these with front and back and some parts in between, and we gave it to them for less than 30,000 rupees, which means that the prototype for these parts actually came 3 times cheaper, which is commendable. Uh, Similarly, someone wanted to create a GPS device, and we did this for them. There are a lot of other devices that did come to us, and we've been able to help create these enclosures. These enclosures have been actually a very common thing that have been coming to us. The people come up with their ideas, create the hardware for it, but then to enclose, to sell, you require a nice, pretty looking enclosure. And they came to us, and in some cases we helped them design. In other cases, they created their own stuff. They came with the designs, and we printed them and gave it to them. This is again a flywheel which was created for a company. They actually put this into a machine and tried it out. Here was an interesting project by some interns. They wanted to see whether generate electricity, and the idea was to install this in pumps, in pipes, house pipes. You have water coming from the tank to your tap. In the way you install something like this, and with that force of that water, this turbine turns around and it generates electricity. That was the concept. And they did a lot of experiment. We actually put in a battery and tried it out at a lower level, but they did not take it off they did not take it off deeper. And I would love if anyone can do this. This is a very brilliant idea, wherein using the home water, you can generate electricity. The water that is generated, that comes down from your tank on the terrace to the tap on the ground floor. A gentleman came to us saying that their client wants a particular gift that they want to give as a token of appreciation to certain people, and this is for Grand Hyatt. This is, if anyone has been there, it's a mother and child, and they wanted to make this in wax and give it to them. And then we actually went there, created the design, 3D printed this and gave this as a model. which they approved. And then finally we made wax molds for them and gave it so that they could actually give the wax molds to them. But this was a very interesting project. Took a lot of our time and energy, but it was quite fulfilling at the end. What are the immediate applications for 3D printing and where all can we use? Did you know that a lot of your jewelry, someone told me 90%, someone told me 80%, but I'm quite confident that a lot of your jewelry today is being done using 3D printing. What you see over here, the blue one, is actually a castable, is 3D printed in castable resin. So what happens is that we take this castable resin, put it in plaster of Paris and heat it up. After some time, that entire resin melts away, leaving no residue. And in that, gold is then poured. And then you have this. These spikes are given for you to put in the stones. So similarly, you have casts that are happening over here. But this is not just for jewelry. Even when you're doing casting of metal, you can see over here, this is 3D printed mold that was made, an additive that was made. Then they created a mold in cement or in plaster of Paris, and then they cast cold cast iron into this. These are the kind of opportunities that are available, and these are things that you can do right here at home itself. It doesn't take a rocket science. What a lot of you will be surprised is this 3D printing bending metal. If you know press brake, I've actually seen 3D printed punch and die bending metal pieces. And if you see over here, it starts from 0.6 mm till up till 3 mm. It has done bending for up till 3 mm metal. And you'll be surprised to know that you can actually bend metal with plastic. But I've seen this live and it is really impressive. I couldn't wrap my head around it myself for myself. And this is quite impressive. We can also make spare parts using 3D printing. There is a company that has come to us during the lockdown saying that we have a challenge because the supply chain has collapsed and the spare parts that we wanted we are not getting. Can you help us out in this? And they gave us a broken piece which we scanned, 3D printed, and gave it back to them to try it out. Excuse me, worked. And that's the beauty of 3D printing again. Provided you have the right materials, you have someone who knows what is the kind of solution that is required, there's a lot that can be done in 3D printing. I mean, this slide itself is for me, I still can't wrap my head around how plastic can bend metal. But if you know the right techniques, if you know how to design and you know how to make use of the strength of here you come up with an amazing solution. Gifting. It's amazing how customized and how interesting you can make, or rather how gifting can be made using 3D printing. What you see over here is actually my face. We scanned it, 3D printed it, and then put a plant into it. Then turned it into a pot. For Christmas, a couple of years back, we made this various different pots of different shapes and designs and gifted it to our near and dear ones. I mean, how am I? Here is a small celluloid uh, lighting fixture wherein you put lights. It gives a brilliant, lovely shadows along the wall, and we've made it in glow in the dark using the dark filament. So when the light goes off, this thing shines a brilliant green. Here again, a night lamp, which is called a lithophane, which is basically allows certain amount of light passing through, and through that it creates lovely pictures. And we have done this for a client wherein he's created an entire his family pictures onto this night lamp. Google had an event a couple of years back, and for all their guests, speakers, we gave them this lithophane, which looks just plain and white when it is switched off, but when it is switched on, it looks like this. All it needs is a photograph. Today's challenge is not mass production, but mass customization. How do you customize for a number of people? How do you make uh, gifts and toys and items for people that are special, and make them feel special, that has their name on it, has their face on it, that is so unique only to them? And 3D printing is one of these solutions that can help in mass customization. We very few and at a very cost effective price. Some of the benefits of 3D printing are that uh, it reduces cost. If you look at this enclosure over here, just as an example, uh, printing this project would not have gone live if it did not have an enclosure. I mean, how can you pitch something with a circuit board and wire sticking out of it to any client or any customer? Even if it is an idea, it needs something like this. But making a container also is quite costly. Using 3D printing, we can actually create a container or an enclosure that perfectly your uh, your circuit boards, and if it's your requirement, gives it an aesthetic look, gives it a professional look, and you can pitch it into your to your customers, or you can create your own device. I know of people who have made their own mini computers using this, wherein they used a Raspberry Pi, connected to a screen, and then used a 3D printed enclosure around it. I know people who have created a number of devices, some to check blood, some to check uh, to transfer data. So many things people have done when they've used the 3D printed enclosure around this. And this happens pretty regularly at our place, where a lot of people do come in for these enclosures. This next piece, 3D printing also helps in rapid prototyping. Rapid prototyping means you have the idea today, by the end of you have an idea in the morning, and by the end of the day, you can actually have a 3D printed part ready. And that's again the beauty of 3D printed. Your idea can be turned into reality, and you can check it. By the next morning, you have already changed and improved on the idea. Next evening, you already have something new, and um, that is the beauty of 3D printing. I mean, it works so fast. Uh, you can keep testing your ideas. Again, you don't need to print the entire thing. You can print just in part. Over here is actually a fixture, and a fixture to hold something and join something. Uh, there is a company that I know that has completely reduced its costs by around 40%, its fixturing cost by around 40% by using 3D printing instead of aluminum. They used to use aluminum material to create all their fixtures, and now they're using 3D printed parts. That reduces the cost considerably. Uh, 3D printing also reduces your risk. A risk in terms of your idea failing, a risk in terms of understanding where are the failure points even before it fails. Uh, it helps you have a miniature, gets a real life perspective of what your part will be, what your product will be. You can create the part, look at it in a miniature, and say, okay, this is how it will look, this is how it will feel. Maybe it is good for me, maybe it is not. 3D printing allows you to prepare very complex parts. You know, in the medical industry also, there are some students, some doctors who wanted to operate on a girl. It was a brain surgery. Rather than doing the operation directly on the surgery, they 3D printed her skull, did a mock surgery on the skull first, timed it, and then they opened up her brain, so that they were sure of what they're going to do. Similarly, here there's a spine, and they wanted an fixture inside the spine, uh, and they 3D printed it. Complex stuff like this can be done using 3D printing, and that is because the 3D printing also gives you the design flexibility. Like I said, complexity is free in this, and it helps you boundaries which before you could not cross. Here are some examples that are of things that are happening around the world. I've got another 15 minutes, I guess. This is a company called Confederate Motors, which manufactures some 60 or 70 of these bikes in a year. And they say that it is possible only because of 3D printing. So 3D printing using SLA parts, they do high precision parts, cast them directly, and then bikes. These are combat bikes, and they look really awesome. You can look them up. They're an amazing. They've got an amazing range of bikes, and this is possible only because of 3D printing. This complex design is possible because of 3D printing. Uh, when the lockdown happened and the supply chain collapsed, the hospital in Italy was facing huge difficulty because they could not get respiratory valves. The company which was manufacturing these valves also said, we cannot do anything. The entire thing is locked down. We cannot supply it to you. That time, these two guys, Christian Fracassi and Alessandro Ramiali, uh, rom- went went to the hospital, took their 3D printer over there, designed, measured, and created 3D printed parts, valves over there itself. They then went back, tested it over there. They then went back home, and I think within 24 hours, they created about 100 of these valves for just under $1 each. That was a big slash in price. There are contradictory reports, but one report says that the respiratory valves were first costing some 10,000 US dollars, and these guys manufactured it within in just $1. This design was then replicated, shared for free, and a lot of other people started making these valves in to help other countries as well. This is simply awesome. Uh, if your son asks you, can we print a car? Can we make a car? You probably say, what nonsense. But Sterling Backus and his son were doing a virtual drive on the Lamborghini, and the son asked his father, can we print one? And he says, okay. And guess what? They actually got together using a Creality CR10S 3D printer. They 3D printed this entire car. And no, it is not just a model, it's a working car. It's an actual working car. They have used uh, an engine of another car. I can't remember the name. They've used some parts of the Lamborghini, they use some parts of Audi, and they have 3D printed most of this body and done. Now they've realized that the 3D printing would not sustain load. So they have 3D printed the part and then did carbon fiber covering over it. It has got, oh yes, there it is on the screen. It has got a 5.7 liter engine from a Chevy Corvette, and they have done carbon fiber and encapsulation for this entire thing. Sorry about that. This is an amazing thing. It is still going on. It's still work in progress. You can just search for 3D printed Lamborghini Aventador, and you will find this on Facebook. There's an actual page devoted to this entire project. This is really an inspiring and an interesting project. If you thought that 3D printing can't go big, then this is how big it can get. This is the world's first 3D printed neighborhood. It's a 152 square meter house. The actual walls, 24 hours to print. And then in the next 48 hours, I think they do the roof and the doors, and the house really beautiful. They have done about 50 of these houses in this community, and this is a project by an organization called New Story, using a 3D printer called the Vulcan 2. Icon is the company that has manufactured this 3D printer, and I think this is again another very inspiring story of how they have brought 3D printing to help people in need. There was an earthquake in, I think, in Mexico, and uh, the owner or the founder of New Story was there, and he was feeling very upset that there was nothing that could be done and nothing that could be done fast. And he started this community called New Story and started this entire project. And if you think that 3D printing has not entered into the food industry, then you are wrong. This is a organization this is a company called Food Inc. They've got around 7 restaurants across the world in Barcelona, Lleida, London, Netherlands. The entire food, the entire menu is 3D printed. It's pretty expensive. It comes to about $250 for a meal, for a full 9-course meal. But I mean, you cannot beat the experience. You're one of the first guys to try something like this. Everything is 3D printed, including the vessels that they serve in, including the furniture that they are sitting on. Every single thing is 3D printed, and that makes it so much interesting and fun. If you have any questions for me, I think this is the time to ask. I've gone a little bit fast, but I can go back to the screens and show you some more if you have. I open the floor for questions. Sudeep, if you're there, you can take on, or anyone can straight away ask me the questions if you have it.
Yeah, sure. Participants can unmute themselves and they can ask the questions, or they can put in the chat box and then we can reply it back.
Yes, you can ask me the questions if you have any.
Please go ahead.
Okay, so I've got a question. He says, what is the bigger advantage of 3D printed punch and die over the regular? In prototyping, so we are doing a project right now for my machines itself. Let me give you an example. For my machines itself, we have a sharp edge, sharp corners, but I did not want sharp corners. I wanted rounded corners of a particular diameter. Those rounded corner dies are not easily available, and for a short quantity of production, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make economical sense. So the best option that time is to 3D print a punch and die and use it. The From when I last checked, my company told me that they manufacture around 10,000 pieces using this particular punch and. It's a very good question. Thank you. Any other question?
Doctor, hello.
Well, the motive behind the entire session. Yes, yes. Yes, tell me.
Doctor, if a student wants to learn this 3D printing, where can he get it training?
We have not, before the lockdown, we were having workshops, but now we have not yet started workshops. So in Goa, so we are doing, and I think there is someone in Don Bosco also who is doing this workshop. But I think after the lockdown, none of us have started. You can like our Facebook page. I think we are starting an online workshop very soon, wherein you can sit at home and run the 3D printer. So we are working on that system. Probably by the mid of October, we will have this thing ready. We are trying to look at the system. See, 3D printing is all about experiential learning. If you don't experience it, how can you learn? I cannot give you all theory and leave it at that. So we wanted people to actually print. And the way that we're doing it is that we have connected our printers with cameras and stuff, and I'm trying to see how we're going to give you access to directly log in, print, and look at your product. Of course, to pick it up, you'll have to come over.
Yeah, and also adding to the same discussion, so we also have a prototyping lab at Goa State Innovation Council, which is at the Don Bosco College of Engineering. If there are any individual projects or individual tasks that has to be 3D printed or need any mentorship support, so the lab is available for people to come and use it. And as Ryan has already mentioned that we are planning to come up with an initiative where the 3D printer will be shared online. So yes, we are working on that, and those will be a little more technical and more focus oriented sessions. So right now we are doing more of our awareness session, but
Yes.
it was the right question, and we will definitely are looking into it. Thank you.
Thank you, doctor.
Yeah, so Pritik has asked me, can the material resist high temperatures? Pritik, every material that is being 3D printed is for different reason. As in, you have materials for high temperature, you have materials to resist high pressure, you have materials to last long, and you have materials that dissolve in water also. So for different applications, you have different type of materials. We have high temperature materials as well. We have a material called Delrid. Now, when I say we have, I mean 3D printing. we have a material called Delrin, which we can directly use in an injection mold to do injection molding. So that takes a lot of heat, high temperature as well as high pressure. I hope that answers your question. See, the entire purpose of this is to excite you into trying to use 3D printing. Use 3D printing at your home or at your work, for your business or for your pleasure, for your hobby, or to make money. But use 3D printing. It doesn't really cost much. And once you start with it, that's when you kickstart the entire process. And I've seen people who have done our workshop have come up with some amazing ideas. It's always exciting for me to see these people coming up with these ideas and bringing their ideas to life. We can't share names. We can't share a lot of what they do. What I've shared on my PowerPoint presentation is hardly 2% or 3% of what we actually do, because we sign NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, with all our customers. So we can't really show what we do to other people. However, I must impress upon the fact that we do a lot of work which is very exciting. And when you come up with ideas and you come and show us, it's only then that you will actually see how it can help you. Nishant Surlekar is asking me, do we require an app for 3D printing? For designing. Okay, so for designing, you can use any of the designing softwares that are available. It doesn't matter. For youngsters, was non-complex designs, I normally recommend SketchUp. For more complex, there is this online one. What is it called? So there are SolidWorks, there is AutoCAD, there are so many different Fusion 360, which is online and which can do complex designs. There is Onshape, which you can use, which is again for free. You can use all these softwares and just export it as a .stl file. Can any material be used for 3D printing? No, there is a certain set of materials which will be used for 3D printing. We do have a wide range of materials that can be 3D printed, which includes gold, silver, titanium, brass, which also includes stainless steel. I've seen silicon printing, I've seen nylon, I've seen different types of plastics and polymers that are being 3D printed. But not any and every material can be 3D printed. It depends upon what is ready right now, or you look at the nearest alternative. Okay, what do you think what do you think of prototype modeling as a skill for young kids and students? So I have I'll put this in perspective for you. Many years back, when I was passed out school, we had to go for an actual workshop or other course on Word and Excel. Today, students who are coming out of school are already using Word and Excel as a norm. And this is exactly what is going to happen for 3D designing. And one of the indicators of this is those who have Windows 10 will see that Windows has already put in a software called 3D Builder in it. And they've got also 3D Paint in it. There are systems that are Autodesk has been buying software left, right, and center. Trust me, 3D printing is 3D designing, not just printing, is going to be an essential skill in the years to come. It'll be smart to start adopting it right now. My boys, 12 now they're 12 and 9, but when they were 6 and 8, they've been doing designing since then. It is that simple and that easy. They've been doing designing on SketchUp. Okay, another question is how soon can we look at 3D printing as an household option? As Ian, it is already economically feasible, and it is as soon as you can take it home. I'm telling you the same thing. 3D printing, you can have a 3D printing at home for hardly 17 or 18,000 rupees today, and a very good printer. I mean, the printer that you're seeing on the screen that is printing over there is costing hardly 19,000 rupees. my offer to you is that if you see the price on Amazon, you come and tell me that, and I'll give you the same price, plus I'll give you one spool free. I'm not trying to sell my machine. I'm trying to tell you that 3D printing is something that you should start working on very fast. Don't waste time. If you find it that 18,000-19,000 is expensive, 4 of you all get together. It is then just 5,000 rupees. Get together and 4 of you all get together and start using 3D printing. Get together as a team, as a group, and start printing. How much does a 3D printer cost? I already answered that, but it starts from anywhere from 18 to 19,000 and goes up to 4.5 to 5 crores, depending upon your application. Can a 3D printed object survive in space? In fact, right now, there are already 3D printed objects that have gone into space. More so, there is some 14-year-old from India who has printed something and sent it out into space. If you look that up, from Hyderabad, one boy has done that. So that kind of answers the question. Can we make a human portrait with fine details? Absolutely. So there are 3 ways you can do this. One is that something called digital sculpting, wherein you take softwares like Sculptris. Then there is a software called ZBrush. Okay, and then also Blender, and you can start sculpting a human image, and with whatever details you put over there, you can 3D print it. You can get as much details as you want depending upon the size and scale that you're printing it in. Sharvari, can any material be used to 3D print? Sharvari, we already answered these questions. There are a number of materials that are available, but not all can be 3D printable. We've got a wide range of materials that can be 3D printed. And there is a material called PLA, polylactic acid, which is a biodegradable plastic. Normally, PLA is made out of, normally plastic is made out of petroleum, but PLA is made out of cornstarch. Now, this material can be used to, so this is a biodegradable plastic, but it has come with so many variants today that you don't need other plastics. I mean, you have plastics in all these candy colors. We have plastics in all the different materials like silk. We have it in wood filament. We have got carbon fiber. We have got glow in the dark. There are so many different marble finish, stone finish. So many materials we have. It's a wide range. You have to just come and see, choose what you want, and use it. Any other questions? Royston, a nice question. Again, can you more about food printing? Does it taste the same? And is the food material used to print? Yes, Royston, it is food material that is used to print. In fact, NASA spent about 3 million, about 4 or 5 years back, 2014, if I'm not mistaken, to make the world's first pizza printer. Thereafter, 3D Systems made a machine called the Chef Jet Pro, which started 3D printing in icing sugar. And I could take a 3D model of you and I could print the entire thing in with the same colors. And each color would have the same flavor. It would have a different flavor. So, for example, if you have your face was brown, it would taste of chocolate. And if you had a bag that was green, that would taste of maybe green apple. And if you had a pen that was purple, that would probably be grape or berry or something like that. So food printing is quite dominant. Most popular is chocolate printing. The restaurant that is the restaurant that I was talking about, fooding, they are making various types of foods in the form of pastes. Now that's this for now. That is the only constraint, that everything that needs to be printed has to be printed in the form of pastes. Then they are maybe cooked or hardened and then eaten up. Very interesting question, Royston. Keep the questions coming. So there are almost 5 years which we are trying to give it to you in 45 minutes. Sometimes I go too fast. Sometimes I get lost in the passion of the moment. So do let me know if you have any more questions. that you have. Can we use leader scan objects in 3D printing? I didn't understand what is leader scan objects, Pratik. Okay, so I'm not familiar with leader, Pratik, but you can use 3D scanned objects for 3D printing. So basically, you take we have a 3D scanner, and you scan the object, and then you can use it for 3D printing. I'm sorry, I do not know what leader is, and I think I will have to try to check it out myself. It's very interesting. Thank you for that question. A good 3D printer name, obviously my 3D printers. so if you look right down, there is a list of 3D printer companies that I represent, and I'm very particular about the companies that I represent because I don't want any negative publicity out of this. So anyway, it depends all on your application, and we can help you choose the right printer as per your application. And the right printer is not always the expensive one. Sometimes the right printer is quite cost effective. Thank you for that question, Nemesio. Thank you. Any other questions?
Sir, doctor, what about the repair
Yes.
and maintenance of the printer if we buy it?
We have around 17 printers with us. We really don't face much of an issue. However, if you do face an issue, I've got a very efficient team sitting here in the office, and they will help you sort it out. Again, 3D printing is not complex at all. A lot of your resources are available online. Any of your engineers, I don't know if you are into the engineering field, but any of the engineers will be simply able to manufacture or repair your 3D printers. Anyone with a slight technical bend will be able to handle it. However, if you face any difficulty, we are there to support you. I mean, we've been supporting, I think we have around 100 plus clients in Goa, and we've been supporting them, and we've not faced any issues.
Thank you, doctor.
Do you have anything to say about 3D pancake makers, about time, etc.? I am not really too sure about 3D pancake makers, but I do know. See, it all depends upon what you are extruding and how long it takes to solidify. But honestly, Rajasthan, I don't know much about 3D pancake makers. I know you're interested in food printing, but food printing again is, so what we could do is that I could actually do a session on food printing where I could cover up different aspects of food printing. Sudeep is very much interested in covering all these different aspects in a different webinars. So maybe we could do that. So one day we could do something in jewelry, and one day in something in wax printing. One day we could do in chocolate printing. Okay,
Yes.
so we can do that. That's a one day I can do in food printing also.
In fact,
But
after
different
this,
ways where 3D printer can use 3D printing can be used in food production.
after this session, we are going to share a feedback form, and we are also planning to conduct a series of webinars and seminars, especially on 3D printing. So maybe if anybody has any topic of interest, you can always give us a feedback, and then we'll try to include in our curriculum.
And my number is here. You can always WhatsApp me also in case you have any difficulty and you are being shy to ask it on the chat or in the public forum. You can always share it with me. Can we use different colors in one object? It depends upon the technology that you're using, Pritik. If you're using an FDM technology or the FFF technology, the number of nozzles determines the number of colors that you can print. If you're using SLS technology, you can use just one color. However, there are technologies like the MJP and others which can use multiple colors as well as multiple materials in the same type. There is a machine called there's called Project, I think, Project something, that can print 7 different colors in 7 different objects. Yeah, so 7 different materials. I'm not too, I can't recollect the name of the machine, but there are machines that can do that. Yeah. Do you need a computer to design? Yes, you do. Sonam, request you to include 3D printing in the curriculum in the schools, explaining 3D printing type, material, and working. Well, this is very interesting. We ourselves have been campaigning for something like this, and nothing to do with what I'm doing, but the Niti Aayog, that is Government of India, has already floated a scheme called the Atal Tinkering Lab scheme. And if any of your schools do not yet have this, you can ask your schools to apply for it. The Atal Tinkering Lab basically gives about 12 lakhs to the school to set up a lab wherein 3D printers, robotics kits, IoT kits, laptops, drill machines, cutting machines are provided, and any student can go there and start working on these machines. Yeah, so if your school does not have an ATL lab, please ask your principal to start, principal or headmaster or manager to start applying for one. A lot of the schools are already getting this, so make use of it. I think around 19 or 18 or 19 schools in Goa already have these. Kaushik asked me which 3D printer is the best option to start for product development at beginner level. Again, I think it's very unfair of me to say this in the public forum. But if you come to us, and we will guide you, because when you're talking at see, beginner level also is a subjective term, and product development also is a subjective term. You are looking at product development in a particular view, somebody else looks at product development in a different view. So let's have a conversation on this. My number is there, we can get in touch and work on it. Is 3D printing used in making a rocket? Just today I got a message on my group, on my 3D printing group, saying that someone has used 3D printing in their tire functional rocket. Maybe you can do a search and you'll get the answer. Roy, 3D viable and do not harm. Lot more economical, a lot more viable. Again, depending on the application, and it is environment friendly depending on the application. So we're using a material called PLA, which is a biodegradable plastic. So that is one way you can say that it is environmental friendly. Secondly, the amount of wastage. Let's say I am doing a statue of my face, a model of my face. The traditional method would require me to take a block and then chip it out, and all that is waste. Whereas 3D printing starts with zero. So the wastage is hardly 0.1, 0.2, something like that, or maybe 1% or 2% than the normal. So the wastage is reduced. Also, the material that is used, a lot of it is biodegradable. Can a special child handle it without much hazard? Just asking, because then it will be great to help my special children. So you may not, the special child, I'm not sure until I understand their level of understanding, or their level of understanding or maturity. Small kids have used the 3D printer. I mean, I told you when my sons were 8-year-old and 6-year-old, they have used it. So they're pretty safe. There's nothing harmful in it as such. So maybe they could use. But for special children with special needs, I would love to work with you. If there is any specific requirement that you have, please get in touch with us, and we will see how we can work for your kids. Ronan Barreto, can we have a workshop for school kids interested in taking up 3D printing as a business? I would love to, Ronan. We, before the lockdown and in the years before that, I think I've lost count on the number of workshops we have done for schools and colleges. Almost every month we were doing 4 or 5 of these workshops. Sometimes in a day we were doing 3 or 4. I'll be happy to do these workshops. Now let's find a way of getting it done. Keep in touch with me, and just ping me, and we'll see how we can do this. I'll be happy to do it. What is the price of 3D printer? Again, it starts from 17 to 18,000 and can go up to back in crores, 7-8 crores, depending upon your budget and your application. Thank you, Roy. Anyone else? I love the questions that are coming. It shows a lot of interest, and it shows that your interest is peaked. So that's good. I hope we are able to use this to help you make money. I would love you to start 3D printing business, and I'm willing to help you do that if anyone is interested. So those who are interested in the workshop, you can ping me, and I'll tell somebody from my staff to create a database and store it, so that when we're having the workshop, we will give you first preference. Also, you can like us on Facebook, so that whenever we have the workshop, we usually post it on Facebook, and you can pick it up from there. Immediately apply for it from there. Does a 3D printer use a lot of electricity? Not at all. In fact, it uses as much as your computer does, or as much as your laptop does. And in many cases, sometimes less than your laptop. Nishant, special child means the child would be about 50 to 60 IQ. Honestly, I wouldn't be able to gauge on this. So let's take it offline, and we'll see what we can do. I'll be happy to help. Yeah. Anyone else? Any other questions? You can feel free to unmute yourself and ask. Very interesting questions coming in, and some of them are pretty unique. I've never faced these questions before.
Doctor,
nice.
Suppose, excuse me, doctor.
Yes.
Yeah, we want certain models to be made so that we can teach our child, our students in school. Could we place them with you and get it done during vacation? Probably we could send our students there.
Yes, you can do. So Sarojini, first off, I'm not a doctor. My name is Ryan, and just Ryan.
Okay.
No worries. Secondly, which school are you from, Sarojini?
Utkarsh High School, Rivana. Rivon, Sange. Rivon, yeah.
Sange. Okay. All right. So, Sarojini, we are very open to an internship program, which we very often do. As long as, so I'm open for an internship program around a year, as long as the number of students do not cross 4 in my premise. So we don't take more than 4 people in my premises. So if you want to send someone for an internship program, we'll be happy to host them. They don't have to pay anything, and we can start with that. The other thing you said about printing parts, you can send them for students of schools. We have a very special discount wherein we charge them some 40% less of the normal prices. But for you and for schools like you, we will work out something else. Don't worry about it. Price is not the main constraint.
Yes.
Show me your interest, then we will see.
Yes. Yes.
We'll be happy to go away, out of our way for you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Are 3D pens good for beginners? Fabio Sequeira is our 3D pens good for beginners, and it's absolutely what do you call that? Delightful to use 3D pens. One of my biggest stress busters is using a 3D pen. Whenever I'm stressed out, I go and start doing this. Of late, I have not used it, but if there is a holiday and we are going home, or I'm going somewhere out on a holiday, I make sure I take a 3D pen and a few filaments along with me. And for any beginner, for them to understand the concept of 3D printing, for them to for them to start spatial thinking, for them to start thinking in 3D, for them to learn welding, joining, fixing, the 3D pen is amazing. We have 3D pens, and it's I cannot talk enough about how good it is. And students as young as 6 years and 7 years can start using a 3D pen. But what I've seen is more than the students, when the parents see it and they get hooked onto it, and they start using it more than the students. Yeah. Can we design on phone, or do we need computer? If there is an app that can help you design easily on phone, go ahead and design. As long as the design is created and can be exported in a .stl file. Where do we apply for the innovation lab school? So you look up Niti Ayog. They have just search for ATL. I think they've got a special section called ATL, Atal Tinkering Lab. So ATL. You search for ATL application, you'll get it. Sir, the house you showed, are they disaster safe? Can they protect from the wild? Yes. These houses have been created in earthquake areas. I met someone a year back, someone from Kolkata who has already worked on these houses, and he told me that they have tested the houses in Japan. They have done various types of testing on it, including your weather testing and your stress testing, and they have done destructive testing to see where it does, and it is a very good option for refugee houses. Should we educate kids and children regarding 3D printer? Yes, Roy, you must include 3D printing as part of your activities for kids. It not only does it help them improve their thinking and their creativity, it also helps them start thinking differently. With all due respect, schools teach us to think in one particular track, whereas 3D printing is one of those 3D printing, 3D pen is one of those avenues which help them think differently. So I would strongly recommend. Any other question? Yes, I think we're done, Sudeep.
Okay. So before we end the session, so it's a small request to all the participants. Just for our PR and the social media, can everybody put on their cameras so that we can take a screenshot? Okay. Quickly, guys, quickly. Fast. Okay, here's the deal. The top 10 gets a treat from me. Top 10. Fast.
They're feeling shy.
Okay. You're missing out on the treat. Okay, next time we do a 3D printing session, we'll make sure that Ryan delivers one 3D printed, like something like this, memento to the to the top 10 people. Come on, then. I'll start taking names, huh? Exam Cell Goa, Fagan Mascarenas, Rosaria Fernandez, Nemesio, Sania Sayed, Sakshi Haldankar, Nivan, Samita Fernandez. Please put on your camera. It's just for 5 minutes. Okay, we need 2 more. Nemesio, Raviraj. Okay. Okay, so we are good to go. So I'll take a screenshot at the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Thank you so much. It has been a wonderful session today. Thank you so much, Ryan. On behalf of the Goa State Innovation Council, the chairman and the council members, we are delighted and happy to have you deliver a wonderful session today. Thank you so much. It's always resourceful and knowledgeable having you sharing so many ideas. And and yes, a good knowledge about 3D printing as well. And also very big thank you to all our participants today for coming out in good numbers. We had around 220 participants for this session. So
Wow.
there are a lot of people on the YouTube that we have to thank you, and looking forward for your support and inspiration. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Thank you, Raj. Thank you, Ryan. So much. Thank you so much, Ryan.
Thank you. Thank you.